podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You've actually watched a game featuring Partizan Belgrade now, Ed. Do you think that preview is going to be the right word for that game?
Well, we're experts, aren't we?
Yeah, okay, all right, okay, good.
I mean, the manager's some dude who used to play for Aston Villa. I remember that much. And Zoran Tosic is in their squad. Age
Yeah. There we go.
30-odd-ish. There you go. That's previewed. We're going to smash them.
So let's go back to happier times then. United's really lovely victory against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. I mean, it was basically a close to full strength United side. Martial rested, Lingard in the side, who hasn't been of late. Back to three at the back. And a really effective, efficient performance capped off by what can only be described as an absolute wonder goal from Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, the goal was definitely the best part of the game. I mean, United played the best they do play under Ole, which is trying to take advantage of transitions, trying to win the ball high up the field, not having too much possession, 30-something%, I think you said, which coincidentally is about how many points we're going to finish on this season, I reckon. No. So, yeah, 34%. So that's the kind of game that United can look decent in, and did for much of this game. I mean, as you pointed out, as we were chatting about this before the game, this was a Chelsea side with Guehi, never heard of him, in central defence. Gilmour, never heard of him either.
He was the
midfield.
guitarist in Pink Floyd.
That's right, yeah, aged about 75 now. And Batshuayi up front scores like never, except in this game.
Scores every time he plays. Goal per 90 minutes or something on average in his career.
Yeah. So, not the strongest Chelsea side possible. We were close to full strength. But look, decent. And everyone felt pretty positive coming out of this game because the draw with Liverpool, the win at Norwich, the win at Partizan, the win against Chelsea. Like, it was all looking much, much better.
Yeah, from no away wins since March to 3 away wins on the bounce, it was quite a big change. Although, of course, like, context is king, isn't it? So 2 of those away wins were against Partizan Belgrade in the Europa League, and not that isn't a challenging fixture in some ways, because it is. And Chelsea away is also a challenging fixture, but the context of the games meant there was just way less at stake. And the big positives, I mean, apart from Rashford's lovely goal, which keeps that percentage ticking up, because like the knuckleballs drive everyone mad when they fly into the top tier, and loads of stuff doing the rounds on Instagram of, a variety of United fans, including beloved friends of the show, declaring that someone's getting leathered, someone in the back row is getting hit real hard in the face here. But of course it went in the top corner, because every now and again they go in the top corner. And about, like, Rashford's free kick average, as we've talked about, is actually pretty good. His penalty average, not so good, but that's one in the win column. And another step run up. This time it looked like Caballero did move a little bit, and so Rashford was able to put it to his, left as Rashford was looking, the keeper's right as the keeper went left. And it was really, it was a big moment given what had happened. And I thought it was a big moment to concede an equaliser and still kind of have the conviction to come back. That free kick was not exactly out of the blue. We looked, it probably did look the team most likely to get a winner, I thought, in that game. Maybe a bit red-tinted spectacles there.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, it depends. I mean, if this was Jose Mourinho in charge, he would be arguing that United were in control of the game. So that Chelsea were creating chances, but not great chances, and United were dictating the pattern of the play. If it was Pep Guardiola in charge, he would be, of Chelsea, he would be complaining that they had 65% possession and only one team was trying to play the game. So, I guess it depends on your perspective on that one. So, But I thought the most important thing about the Carling Cup game was, well, United are through, and it's realistically the best chance of winning a trophy. Other, who knows what kind of FA Cup draw we'll get. But the confidence that came from it, because United up to that point were, not hugely good on the road under Ollie. Is that an understatement?
Absolutely terrible, truly spectacularly awful.
Yeah. So yeah.
Talking of truly spectacularly awful on the road, shall we just transition to this evening's main event, a dissection of yet another laboured, completely devoid of creativity, defensively lax, miserable, pathetic, rubbish display of non-football from the team that we all love.
Yeah, but look, we've got to stop talking about Jose Mourinho's time as Manchester United manager. No, I mean, Jose's time's looking all right at the moment, isn't it? At least in terms of the record.
Talking of Jose, Scott McTominay was absolutely magnificent against Chelsea. Like, absolutely magnificent. Man put in 5 tackles, which is a lot in a game of football for a midfielder, and 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
So, absolute big scenes. It has been shared with me that he has been called in some sections of United support McTominay and also McDominate, which is a hard not to love.
Yeah, although it sounds kind of wrong. Underground Glasgow club of some kind.
Yes.
Your kind of place, yeah. Look, McTominay's been widely praised, and rightly so. I think in recent times. I mean, I guess we've got to be careful not to go from, look, this is a young player who's progressing really rapidly, and there's a lot of praise for that, to suddenly turning him into Roy Keane, because he's still not that yet. But he's been getting better by the week, until the weekend game. Although he wasn't the worst of the bunch. He didn't have this same kind of dominating performance against Bournemouth as he did against Chelsea. But then neither did anyone.
So 20 minutes into this game, I messaged you and Tom saying, I think United look really good here. I think we look really, really well organised with the ball. So this is, I think, probably the first time I've been able to say this all season. First 20 minutes of that game, every time we went forward, there were midfielders breaking to support the attackers. The attackers were not miles away from each other. They weren't all getting congested in the same areas. There was movement and intent up front. Once again, we have O-ring theory to thank for nothing really coming off in that period of time, and then they just, I mean, once Bournemouth kind of deserved their goal in a way. They sort of kind of got themselves back into the game. That last period of the first half was quite scrappy in a way that was absolutely horrendous. It is, we're going to annihilate United here, but I wouldn't want to go to the shops in that weather, let alone try and be a professional who's good at a sport in that weather. And it was a very low quality game in general, not just from United. But I mean, once we went 1-0 down, it was a truly feeble effort, wasn't it? Not in terms of not trying. I want to make that clear. These are professional athletes who are trying, but devoid of quality, devoid of ideas, devoid of any kind of attacking consistency. Just utterly miserable.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers from the first 20 minutes, and your impression rings fairly true. 4 shots, just the 1 on target, 100 completed passes. So dominant by 30 or 40% in terms of possession there, percentage points against Bournemouth. So well on top. But yes, I think from there on, it was truly as bad as it gets this season, or perhaps forever under Ollie. You mentioned O-ring this time, not Ashley Young, but Andres Pereira.
He's inheriting the mantle.
What insult is the best one for him? Not quite a competition winner, but he's looked so out of place. He made 15 completed passes in his time on the pitch. Obviously, he came off early. just 15, and he's United's number 10, supposedly the furthest forward player, the one who was supposed to be the creative fulcrum of the United side. 5 completed passes in the final third.
And it's you said what insult is suitable for him, and I think he doesn't deserve an insult because again, there's no lack of endeavour there. Like one of the most frustrating things about Pereira at 10 is he gets into the right position a lot. Like a lot of things are trying to come through him, but it's not coming off. And I think I'm not sure what his ceiling is. But I also do think he is spectacularly out of form as well, and that is really difficult. It's very difficult when everything starts slipping away from you. So I have some sympathy for him, but his performance levels are absolutely atrocious.
Well, he got some praise recently. Was it the game against Liverpool where he played sort of more defensive forward, trying to win the ball back, got a few tackles in, a few interceptions, ball recoveries and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, that supports your thesis that he's trying. He's just not very good, or not much of it's coming off, or both.
Yeah. I mean, that would be my guess. My non-expert guess would be it's both. He's not very good and he's very out of form, which is that's a devastating combination, isn't it? That's really bad.
And he's in the team because the other two real options at number 10 are Juan Mata, who I don't know if a man could get slower than Juan Mata. But
he's got to go in January, Mata, right? He's got to.
Well, they just gave him a 3-year contract in the summer.
Wow!
They just gave him a 3-year contract. This club, I mean, it's average from top to the right to the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and then Jesse Lingard, he hasn't scored a goal in 15 months.
Got an assist though the other day by knocking it sideways to someone for a wonder goal. He played all right against Chelsea actually. Jesse Lingard, having not been good for a really long time. Not that he was fantastic or anything, but he was all right, which made a nice change. But yeah, Pereira, I mean, there are options like, play Greenwood, play an authentic 4-3-3. Like you mentioned, you play Greenwood on the right, James on the left, and Rashford at number 10. You mentioned he played a lot there as a young player, and he certainly puts the defensive shift in, and I'm not sure listen, he's not a traditional foot on the ball number 10, but they don't really exist anymore hardly. Although Chelsea have weirdly got a load of them, and Leicester, but they don't play there. But anyway, the Pereira thing is a huge issue at the moment, and it's not a scapegoaty thing. It's not a personal thing. It's just the reality of you look at this United side and say, where are the problems? Well,
all over the pitch.
Yeah, Rashford and Martial are flaky as anything. Like on their day, they're both genuinely world beaters. Genuinely, that's not an exaggeration. We saw Rashford's free kick. There's not that many people. Literally, there's not that many humans in the world that can do that, and he's one of them. Martial, we know what a devastating striker he can be. Even including this Bournemouth game, if you look at his goals per minute record this season, it's excellent. Fred looks like a footballer. All of a sudden, he was all right against Chelsea, and I thought he really was really good in that first few minutes against Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean, he actually managed to keep the ball, which is his big weakness, isn't it? Giving the ball away a lot. So he managed to complete most of his passes, and they were into decent areas. So I think we've set a low bar for Fred. And so I think that's the kind of performance which would be a sort of 6-7 out of 10. If he really was truly a £52 million player, but because he's been terrible, we're like, "Wow, there's hope. There's hope that maybe he's more than a pub player."
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? Like this season is all just about desperately scrambling around for hope, and the idea that Fred might be a footballer is sort of a weird. And this has come on the basis of probably his first ever run in the side at United, because he's not had a proper run ever since he arrived. And so the fact that I'm not saying he's like growing into a world beater, but he's growing into a functional footballer. He ran. We beat a few players as well against Bournemouth. Anyway, listen, I don't know why I'm scrambling around for positives. I thought Lindelof and Maguire were desperately shocking. Wan-Bissaka was fine, and Ashley Young, described by one, sorry, I was trying to say this with a straight face, reputable Manchester United reporter as evergreen this week. The evergreen Ashley Young. I'm not going to name that reporter, but
just go Google it.
Yeah, just Google the phrase evergreen Ashley Young, and you'll find this particular reporter has made that reference on multiple occasions for a few years, which is very funny to me.
I mean, I guess he's not dead, and it is almost winter time.
Yeah, and he's still very physically fit. He just offers nothing defensively or in an attacking capacity. It's a horrible. I hate talking about this. Andy Mitten interviewed Chris Smalling for The Athletic, and
Yes.
Chris Smalling was talking about the tendency among groups of supporters, and he didn't specify United supporters, but it's definitely a thing among United supporters to single out players for blame, and that definitely happens. And
it's not just United supporters, by the way.
No.
And look, supporters since the dawn of time, or football at least, have complained about players. It's just that there's so much more of a herd mentality when you can get instant reaction online. And magnify it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just don't like being part of that noise about Ashley Young. But, this is a United podcast where we every week analyse performance levels, and Ashley Young's been dreadful all season, and yet he gets in the team
we've been complaining
week.
about Ashley Young for 6 years.
I know, but I don't like doing it. I really don't like doing it. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I don't think we're trying to pile on and hate on him for the sake of it. And, I know the name of this podcast is Rantcast, but we don't do an awful lot of ranting on it. It's kind of historical rather than a reflection of the kind of discussion we typically have on here. But he's been a bit for a very, very long time. And I think that's a fair observation rather than piling on.
Yeah, exactly. And talking of not very good, Ole Solskjaer's substitutions. I mean, I think maybe it was Van Gaal that we really complained about, but it's the kind of pre-programmed, right, 75 minutes, Greenwood on now. It's like you can almost set your watch by it. I mean, I'm not a spread better or any kind of better, but if you were a spread better, I'm sure that the prices you get for Solskjaer's substitution minutes probably wouldn't be very good.
Yeah, but the thing is, that was the thing that was surprising about the Chelsea game, because he made the switch in the second half after Batshuayi scored from 3 at the back to a back 4, and brought on 2 attacking players and changed the game in many ways. And you said United seemed the more likely to score and win that game, even though we won it through a set piece. And that was because Ole was brave with his substitutions. But the reason why it's surprising is because it never happens.
The kind of the introduction of Brandon Williams when he did. I don't understand why he isn't starting. He was excellent again against Chelsea.
So... I mean, look, I think the only argument at this stage is that he's protecting him. He had a tough game midweek, and 2 big games in a week for a player who's only just coming to the side.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. But Mason Greenwood as well. I am frustrated by the way Greenwood's being used, and it's not like he's setting the world on fire every time he comes on, but he hit the woodwork in this game after he came on. We've seen him, obviously, like we've talked about him scoring a couple of goals, and it was the only player in our squad scoring. It'd be fascinating to see him getting 90 minutes at the top level, and given that his competition is essentially Andreas Pereira, there really isn't much of an excuse not to be playing him, or at least not bring him on after 55 minutes. What, Pereira isn't suddenly going to magically,
Yeah, I mean, the question with Mason is where to play him. So I'm sure he'd rather play through the middle. That's where he's typically been playing for the under-23s, the under-18s, although he's not even had that much football at under-23s in a level, has he? So he's played almost exclusively off the right, I think I'm correct in saying, when he's come on for those brief periods. At the moment, Daniel James is playing there and doing okay. He wasn't good against Bournemouth, didn't really get any headway at all against Rico and Fraser down that side.
Fraser's a scumbag, by the way. The proper toxic masculinity FC Bournemouth are. There was a lot of very angry violence followed by protestations at the ref. Lewis Cook with a disgusting tackle at one point as well.
Yeah, well, he got booked for it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, well deserved. But yeah, toxic masculinity FC. That was what leapt out to me about that game as well.
Good defender though, Lewis Cook. Well, I mean, he's a kind of basic bulldog of a defender, isn't he?
Yeah. But I was surprised by Ryan Fraser's level of violence. Maybe I just hadn't paid enough attention to him.
Anyway, so Daniel James didn't get a lot of headway. I'm sure James would rather come off the left. It's where he's, I think, most effective because he can cut in and shoot, as we've seen. And he's not really a classic winger. There aren't any wingers left. I bet in 5 years' time there just aren't any wingers. I mean, pretty much everyone's an inverted forward these days. So it seems to be the trend, and no one's really switching that up. And so it's a little hard for him to be expected to go on the outside or come inside on the weak foot, and he tends to then either run into traffic or have to play inside into even more traffic.
But he was at least, I mean, again, he was a fairly bright option in the first part of the game. I definitely think, by the way, I should clarify that my analysis of this game is also predicated on the fact that I was really ill while watching it. And so I literally fell asleep for about 20 minutes of the second half. So there's a big period of it. But I am given to understand that almost literally nothing happened in that 20 minutes. So, it's probably fine.
Yeah. Actually, the second half was just deeply, deeply depressing. Josh King had obviously scored just before half time. It's a bad time to concede a goal and all that nonsense. But United just nothing. There was just nothing. And in that sort of final 15 minutes or so, when you're expecting the big push to come, it was just like they put their foot down on the pedal and the engine just said no.
Yeah. Now, I have to say, they are obviously professional athletes, but they're also human, and maybe Solskjaer paid a bit of the price for playing such a full-strength side against Chelsea. And then, we talked about this. We talked about this in the context of how much rotation there would be, and mentioned the fact that this was a Saturday lunchtime game, so surely there'd be a great deal of rotation on that basis. But actually, there was very little rotation, and trying to play football in those conditions and just trying to do any athletic endeavour in those conditions at the end of the game, you're less likely to have stuff in the tank. Not like even Bournemouth, who hadn't played midweek, or I don't know if Bournemouth, who may or may not have played in midweek. I've done no research. It didn't look like they had a ton in the tank at the end of that game either. Like it was horrible conditions, and that does definitely makes a difference to the quality of spectacle on offer.
Sure, and okay, not great football, but damn it, you can run in a bit of wind and rain. It's like but I don't. There's just nothing happening from United, and it's not like I think it's a shun, SHUN, or a lack of effort or anything like that. It's not. I think it's that, but they were just not able to ratchet up the intensity, which is what you would expect.
Yeah. And
a team chasing like it was the kind of performance that if you didn't know where United were in the table or anything about previous results, you'd go, that looks like a relegation team.
Yeah, and I'm not looking for excuses for them because I don't think they really warrant any excuses. What I'm trying to understand is why this happened, because they're not terrible footballers. They're not terrible footballers. Like there's issues, but there's also real quality and real talent in among them, and it's not being delivered at all. And you said like a bad time to score nonsense, but the thing about United is it really is a bad time for United to concede because their emotional state is clearly fragile. Their confidence is...
Well, to be honest, anywhere between the first and the 90th minute is a bad time for United to concede because we just don't create any good chances.
You're right. This is a very good point.
Not 0.64 on the XG this week.
Which is unusual. Unusual for us to lose the XG as well as the actual game.
We normally win the XG. We're moral victors on XG, yeah. I mean, look, part of and it is a broken record answer here, but part of the obvious reason why this happened is we had nearly 60% possession. So we look much better when we're looking for, balls won in the second phase, high up the pitch, or breaking in the transition. Scored against Norwich. Daniel James, wonderful ball beating 3 players, but it was from a quick break and a transition.
Yeah.
And every decent performance is basically in games like that. Hardly ever managed to dominate a game in terms of possession, win looking good.
No, I cannot remember the last time that happened. And the kind of indictment that that first 20 minutes I was talking about, one of the things we were doing was putting pressure on Bournemouth high up the pitch and creating those turnovers and transitions in their final third, or at least in their half, and that is what this team should be set up to do. And if you look at the personnel, like Pereira can press, and Harry, he can do that. Rashford and James obviously have got the physicality to do that and the willingness to do that. McTominay and Fred behind them, that is actually a unit that can win back the ball high up the pitch, and they were doing a lot of that early in the game, but they just stopped. It just isn't. It just does not look like a very well drilled team at all, And so when a team does not look well drilled and is desperately short of confidence, and there's nothing happening with in-game management, like hello, and they've appointed on a wild whim a beloved figure with absolutely no proven experience at this level. I mean, I think there might be a fairly obvious problem that we haven't really talked about very much because of how much we love the obvious problem.
Yeah. I mean, 48 games in now. When's a fair time to start making judgments? I mean, look, there's obviously there's lots of nuance to this one. You don't find much of that on Twitter, obviously. I mean, it's not a place that does well for nuance. But he doesn't have a good squad. He didn't get everything he needed in the summer. The club has been quite happy to be let it known that Ole was happy with the changes. He wanted Sanchez and Lukaku out.
And rightly so.
And yeah, that's rightly so. But now we look thin in forward areas and extremely thin in midfield areas, having lost 3 senior midfielders in the past year. So, and it's so in pretty big trouble. So he's not got the tools that he needs. But given the tools he's got, should he be doing better than 10th?
I mean, should he be doing better than... Because in the first 20... I keep going on about the first 20 minutes of this game, but in that first 20 minutes, this was a brilliant example of a game where I thought to myself, do you know what? If we play like this all the way through the game, I really don't care what the result is. If this is what we're seeing, then this is exactly what we mean when we say this isn't just about wanting United to win every game. It's about wanting to see something from them. And unfortunately, what happened was we only saw that for a tiny period of time. And as soon as the bubble was burst, it deflated instantly and completely. And I do not understand why the entire focus of the coaching squad is not on confidence building. Honestly, this is a team that should be working with sports psychologists round the clock, because the technical stuff, like there are problems with that, but a good sort of 75% of the squad literally just need to believe in themselves. That's the missing ingredient. And if they had that, we know they've got the capacity to do damage to other teams. So yeah, it's that's the kind of biggest indictment on Solskjaer. And I'm not surprised, because listen, if Solskjaer was Moyes, what we'd be saying is it's not really surprising that their team don't feel like they've got confidence instilled in them by a manager whose touchline presence is so shaky, nervous looking, like a schoolboy in grown-up's clothes half the time. I mean, he's obviously got the baby face that doesn't help that, but I'm talking about his facial expression, and more than anything, I'm talking about the vibe that radiates off him like a beacon, saying, help me, this isn't going like I hoped it would.
Yes, I mean, it's not that he's looking just yet like a man expecting the sack. I mean, maybe he buys into the message that he's got his 3 years and they have a plan. I mean, in a way, Ed Woodward is he's bound to him. I mean, he made this decision, this emotional decision, to appoint Ole full time when he didn't have to do that. Because he thought that it bought him time from the pressure that was coming from fans and now sponsors in the past week from investors. Not a very important investor, but from investors. So, and now it's going to look extremely weak if he sacks him. Extremely weak. It's the question is, I guess, is when it gets to the point of no return, where it's just going to get worse. So, I mean, I made a joke at the beginning that we're in the top half of the table. I mean, it would have been 11th if Spurs had won. If Everton had won, we'd be like only a point ahead of them. Everton, who've had an unbelievably bad start.
It was just funny that like Crystal Palace lost the game before that Everton-Tottenham game and are still above us in the league, having lost. Crystal Palace, having lost this weekend in the 11th round of games in the Premier League, are still above us. Like, this game was so, honestly, I was talking to a friend of the show, gets mentioned a lot, Cal Gildart, because we talk a lot during games, and I was talking to him at half-time, and he said, this is such a cliche, but this is a massive 45 minutes. And that's exactly how it felt. It felt like all this momentum. We've got 4 games unbeaten, 3 of which of those are away wins, and the draw is against, the team that are top of the league and our arch rivals. And we were unlucky to draw that game, or at least, felt a little hard done by to draw that game. And then, we started strong against Bournemouth. Then we concede that goal. This 45 minutes now says, okay, are we just straight back into crisis mode? Or are we actually, no, do you know what? There is a kernel of something here. That kind of combination of really good signings in the summer, not enough, but really good ones, and the refresh of the squad, and the reintroduction of Martial as a number 9, and, the emergence of McTominay, and all these things that, genuinely could look real different with a slightly different slant. But no, instead, we got absolutely nothing, and we're left, like you say, clinging onto the top half of the table, 11, almost a quarter of the way through the season. No, more than a quarter of the way through the season, almost a third into the season. So it is really bad. That performance was. It's not like Bournemouth had to be brilliant. They weren't defensively brilliant. It wasn't like an amazing back to the wall performance where they're going out of it, everyone like pumping their fist, like, yes, we are Bournemouth. The cherries are hard. It was just like, yeah, no, actually, as everyone has been saying, as is clearly the case, United are just not very good. And all the hope of the last few weeks and all that kind of little kernel of optimism evaporated under the slightest pressure.
That's right. And I mean, just one thing you said there about got very good signings, not enough of them. There's still a question about that. I mean, Wednesday night, Harry Maguire got beaten far too easily for that goal. I count that as 6 goals this season in which Harry Maguire could have done better. And look, I think he's a very good defender, but Wan-Bissaka's not made too many errors. I think we know where his strengths and weaknesses are. And Daniel James tries really hard, done some good things, but like he's had a lot of ineffective games as well as lots of bright things. And it's about expectations. If he's having the same game in a year's time, I think we're going to be disappointed with him. So, I'm not saying they're bad signings. I'm just saying they're not all fantastic. They brought in a young kid who is still learning his trade. Maguire, who's got to step up a level, right? Because I think this is his career, to be honest. I don't think he's been playing at an elite level all his career. And he now needs to get to that elite level. And Wan-Bissaka, who's still learning. He's 21. He's still learning.
Yeah, and I guess to be clear, like I was kind of deliberately painting the rosiest picture of events like that we could be seeing, rather than saying definitively these are 3 excellent signings. Although actually, that is more or less my position on them. Is that this is the best summer transfer business United have done for a long time in terms of incoming. But we'll see. I mean, you're right about Maguire's errors, but it's probably also worth going through like how I mean, just to use the numbers again, because we just do this every time, but how little XG United cough up every game and how much that's actually about the fact that defence is completely transformed by the arrival of Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire. So, there are individual moments which have been key, but there's been a lot of good stuff as well from both of them.
Sure.
And my God, where would we be as an attacking unit without Daniel James? So, he's had some ineffective games, but fewer ineffective games than the rest of his kind of more storied comrades in attack, and probably more effective games than them as well, although that might not be accurate.
I actually think, I mean, look, that's all true as well. And also part of the better defensive performance, I think, is McTominay coming into the side ahead of Matic. For sure.
Good
just
point.
Much more effective there.
Yeah.
So look, definitely not denying that United are better defensively, and Maguire and Wan-Bissaka's introduction has helped that. Just a small caveat.
Yeah, no, and one that is needed, because I'll get giddy. I'll get giddy soon as look at you. But yeah, not much to be giddy about that performance. Really, really thoroughly, and this is a weird word to use about a team that have been so bad so much of this season, but thoroughly disappointing, because it did feel a bit like, and this is like the story of post-Fergie United. It's like the kind of, oh, wait a minute, is something good happen? No, nothing good happens. Nothing good ever happens. It's all bad. Whatever happens next is going to be bad. Talking of which, I suppose we should move on to the big United-related news, in inverted commas, story of the week. Certainly the thing that's been taking social media by storm. Lots of rumours about an imminent, there's a big word, United takeover, which would make them better off the pitch. Better on the pitch. And,
oh dear,
yeah,
steady on.
That's literally the wrong way around. But probably almost certainly make them better on the pitch. Would mean that Ed Woodward would almost certainly be sacked, and would mean that we would be part of a deliberate attempt to clean up a PR image without any actual change.
Shall we take a couple of steps back? What happened? There was a guy who claims to be the public relations director for some prince or so within the Saudi Arabian royal family, House of Saud. I don't know who he is. He's not been prominent in world affairs. Claimed that United had been purchased, and this was pushed around on social media. It's not been backed up by any sort of reputable media outlets. Certainly, there's not been any filings with the SEC. And this dude on his Twitter profile, I note, claims he spends some of his time in San Francisco. I would be expecting a knock at my door if there really is a purchase in the offing by the SEC, going, hello, mate, you just juiced the market a little bit there. Very naughty people do go to prison for that kind of thing. Anyway, so it's typically not acceptable to do that in the public sphere. If you remember, Elon Musk just claimed that Tesla's share price should be higher, and that what else did he claim? That they were thinking of an acquisition of some kind. Anyway, he later claimed he was joking because he was high, but he's been forced to relinquish his chairmanship of Tesla. He's also CEO, of course, So the SEC take it very seriously. Very long ramble to say I don't take that report very credibly. I do have some other information which I don't really want to say where it comes from, but anyway, it's very close to the source. Extremely close to the source. Just to say that not that a purchase is imminent, but that the appropriate construct for a purchase may be in place.
Yeah, so
if you get what I mean.
Yeah, so I guess none of us would feel it surprising in the least if this happened at this point, and it's going to be absolutely horrendous. And listen, if you listen to this show, be prepared for Amnesty International ending every single show that we do after. If this happens, we're going to talk about the football. We're going to keep covering United, and every single week without fail, we're going to talk about this stuff, because if they want beautiful
sport
PR,
washing,
it's
not coming through here.
No, because it's not It's not acceptable. And the insanely depressing reaction of I'm not really involved in any United social media stuff, but every now and again, one of my friends will get tagged into something on Facebook about United by one of their other friends, and I just saw some random United Facebook page, and the comments were very, very just upsetting, and so much ignorance, and so much myopia, and the thing that we always said, every time that we've ever criticized City's ownership and City fan reaction to their ownership, I think we've always said I'm sure it would be exactly the same if it were United fans, because
yeah.
and by the way, the other thing that I was thinking about earlier, we won't just be talking about human rights abuses in the Middle East, because I think a lot of what happens when Western coverage of human rights abuses in the Middle East is there's a lot of like othering of it. There's a lot of like, oh, these lot that dress different than us and worship different gods and all this kind of stuff. These lot are bad. But we live in a country where they tried to pass a benefits legislation that was struck down by the Court of Human Rights. We've just seen absolutely shocking human rights abuses to the Windrush generation in this
Sure.
country. And sorry.
And sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off. Yeah, and that's all very true, and we could talk for like an hour a week on the injustices of the world, for sure. So, look, narrowly related to Saudi Arabia, if they take over, it is a series of things that we need to talk about. Which is a war in Yemen and the complete disregard for human life there, a million starving, 100,000 dead or displaced, like no medical supplies or food aid getting through. And then related, the place of the UK, in particular government, in supplying arms. And then we can talk about other stuff. So it's interesting when you were kind of going on to list some of the bad that happens by Her Majesty's government in our name. I get that quite a lot on Twitter when I point out why I would be so uncomfortable with the royal, Saudi Arabian royal family taking over, which is like, well, look at your country. The kind of whataboutism argument, and I kind of understand where people are coming from, I guess. But it's kind of irrelevant. So at the moment, the UK government does not own Manchester United. Neither does the US government. When people talk about the Glazers supporting Trump financially, which they have done, they've held benefits for them, fundraisers, and donated money, which is all true. There is a difference, and I wouldn't go to claim that the UK government has a great human rights record. It does not, or has a good record on sponsoring wars in the Middle East. It definitely does not, So, but I think it's okay to narrow the plane of discussion down when we're thinking about how it relates to United. The other question I get when I talk about this on social media is, well, what are you going to do? If you had any moral compunction, you wouldn't support United anymore. You'd walk away. And like, there's some argument for that. I think there's an argument for having done that in 2005, I guess, which a lot of people did do. There's also, I think, it's possible to compartmentalize and say, look, I want them to win on the pitch. I just hate the scumbags who are in charge of our team. It goes to a different level when it's the Saudis, because they are using it not because they're low rent businessmen like the Glazers who are trying to make a quick buck and would rather the trade off of spending money versus getting dividends to be on the getting dividends side of things. Yeah. Whereas the Saudis want to use an institution like Manchester United, 141 years old, to go, hey, look at this lovely shiny thing, and not our atrocious human rights record, classic sport washing.
And so the reason, just to address your first point there, the reason why I think it's extremely important that we do, I'm not sort of like saying every time this conversation comes up, it has to happen, but that we do set the context of understanding that we live in a country, and certainly like our American listeners live in a country where the general tenor of assumption in popular culture and the media is that these are the good guys. I mean, we are in the West, so that's the popular culture we're presented with and consume.
Get it? Yeah.
And neither of us think like that or feel that way. And I think it's actually quite important, not every time, but to kind of almost preempt the whataboutism, to say the reason that we're talking about this is because of the state ownership of United, not because of some sort of agenda. I mean, listen, I remember in the early days, the early United rant days, all those comments of like the Glazer stuff is just anti-Americanism and all that kind of stuff, which it never was, never could be, never will be. Like, it's all about the facts of the case and the specifics, and so yeah, this is just about recognizing that, like you said earlier, we're called Rantcast, but we've always tried to be a place where nuance is part of the conversation. And I actually completely understand how somebody from a part of the world that is kind of demonized, more not just demonized about the facts, but demonized more broadly and culturally, actually would be very understandable for them to say, well, what kind of ivory cloud are you sat, ivory tower, not ivory cloud, what kind of ivory cloud are you sat in? And the answer is me and you. Like, we for sure know that we're not sat in any kind of ivory tower. And I have to say, I will be much less invested in United winning on the pitch. Like, I'll still cover them, I'll still support them, I'll still feel something about them, but when that club is populated by the equivalent of City today in terms of playing staff, and it's managed by whatever superstar manager of 10 years time is managing it, and we're winning the Champions League because we've got all this money behind us, I'm not going to be celebrating those Champions League wins with tears in my eyes,
And by the way, United's revenue this year was bigger than any other clubs on the planet, right? We don't need billionaires to take us over. We have piles of money. We just need to use it effectively, right? Need to use it effectively. So look there first. And hey, who knows whether the Saudis would actually use that money effectively or not? I mean, at City, one thing you can say, as well as point out the ills of the owners, you can say they run that club really well. Really, really well. They put that money to very, very good effect. It's really dodgy, as we know. We've seen all the documents. They brought the receipts, but they've done it well, and we don't know that would be true. It's not just about spending money. Anyway, no, that was a diversion into the minutiae of actual football rather than something. We'll see. It can take a long time to conclude a deal of this nature. It's not just about money and what pennies can be found down the back of MBS's sofa. It's also about closing it. It's also about the football authorities here in the UK and whether they would accept that, because I do think it would be kind of nuclear moment for English football to allow in a regime like that, which is, I would say, even worse than the one in Abu Dhabi, and like, bless it, because the Premier League's always had this kind of laissez-faire. We're keeping out of it. It's not about politics, but this is really different.
Yeah, I know where my guess would land about whether or not a moral stance would be taken in the potential of all the money and revenue and etc. I mean, this is where you can say, just look at how the UK government interacts with these governments. Anyway, that's probably enough of that. Talking of oil-backed fake clubs whose fans should be ashamed of themselves. Oh no, I thought we were previewing a Chelsea game. We're not previewing a Chelsea game. I got that one modelled in my head. We're playing Partizan, it's the Europa League. We've officially taken a position of disrespect towards that tournament. And then it's Brighton, who are not going to be... This is like, you look at the fixture and go, oh, Brighton and Hove Albion at home. Well, maybe we'll get, that is a good fixture. We'll get back to winning ways with that one. But I don't know how we look at that after that game at Bournemouth with anything other than, slight fear. I mean, Brighton in absolutely excellent form since losing to Chelsea 2-0 at the end of September. They've beaten Spurs 3-0 at home. Oh no, they lost to Villa. I thought they won that game, but they beat Everton at home, and then they beat Norwich at home. So they've not been they're not been so good away from home this season in general. They even lost to Southampton at one point at home, and I think their only away win at home this season has come against Watford, who are in an absolutely shambolic state. But
they are a couple of points and a couple of places ahead of us. So favourites there, marginal favourites.
They've scored more goals than us this season, obviously.
They have done. I mean, they swapped manager in order to move forward, and they're sort of doing that. I mean, I don't know. I guess they are. I mean, quarter of the season gone. Yeah. What would be a good finish for Brighton? Top half would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. What would be a good finish for us, Paul? Top half.
Yeah. I think the thing about Brighton is it isn't so much about just the number of where they finish in the league, is it? It's, Chris Hughton was keeping the relegation walls from the door, but the football was incredibly attritional and not a lot of fun to watch. And they brought in Graham Potter, who's got this fantastic reputation. And I think they've clearly invested a lot of faith in him, and they're going with his approach, and it is paying dividends, because won 4, drawn 3, lost 4 is a pretty good start for Brighton, and to have 15 points from the first 11 games, they'll be to be already 7 points ahead of the relegation zone, and only 8 points off fourth. They'll be pretty pleased with that, and they're going to be a threat, because Potter's a smart manager. Clearly, I'm not an expert in his career or what he's done, but he's clearly a smart manager, and that means that they're going to probably play fairly conservatively against us at home, which probably means we're not going to be able to score a goal.
Well, look, everybody and his dog has seen exactly where United struggle. So keep it narrow, keep it with a low block, let United try and dictate the pattern of the play, and United will struggle. And you need those special moments, like a penalty, but because we win a lot of those, or a 40-yard wonder goal, knuckleball free kick.
These are our current options. Unless we're playing against Norwich, that is. A word for Neil Maupay, their top scorer, French striker. He has got 2 in his last 4, scored against Spurs and Everton at home. He's because where the goals were going to come from that wasn't Glenn Murray's big question for Brighton, and Glenn Murray is now so old. Eventually, even Glenn Murray's going to run out. And they're spreading the creativity around. I mean, as you would expect with players like Pascal Gross and David Proper and Lewis Dunk in the side. Lewis Dunk, their leading assist maker somehow at the moment. But yeah, I think we know what to expect from Brighton. They've been playing 3-4-3 a lot this season. And I am nervous about this one, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, with good reason too, because if the game plays out the way we expect it to, then it's going to be a really tough afternoon for United.
It would be interesting to see how our defence handles the kind of counter-attacking threat. Really, that's it's going to be.
Well, we struggle sometimes because like neither Maguire or Lindelof are that great on the turn. So Lindelof wasn't, and Maguire never has been. So it's 2 weaknesses in those 2 players. So it's certainly possible to put United under pressure in transition. We'll see whether Brighton have got the tools to do it. So,
yeah.
Yep.
There's not much about their position that looks particularly false either when you dig into the underlying data, and their XG and XG conceded is not a million miles in either direction different to the actual number of goals they've scored and conceded. So clearly it looks like they are creating the chances that they need to be to score the goals they need to score. And they've conceded a fair number of goals too, but it's working. The score one more than you is working at the moment. I mean, they absolutely battered Norwich according to the data. I didn't see the game or the highlights, but they absolutely battered Norwich. But I mean, listen, so did we, and that's where Norwich are at the moment. They took a lot of shots against Norwich, really a lot of shots, which
and some in very good positions too. So an easy victory, which is not what United are going to get, I suspect, against Brighton. Although maybe there'll be a reaction. Has Juan Mata blogged yet to tell us there will be?
Honestly, I mean, before that's after Belgrade as well. Like you'd have to think now. We said this about the Chelsea game, and we were very wrong. But in the Europa League, he really has rotated pretty heavily, and I'm sure he will rotate pretty heavily. And he's going to need to too, because like in the Friday press conference, I think it was Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, and Rashford were all doubts for the Bournemouth game, and now they all played, but. Muscle injuries are only a fraction away, aren't they, from basically every player in the United side, it would seem. And I think you sent a thing around saying that Pogba, we're talking about December before Paul Pogba's back.
Yeah, and he said he's still got 2 weeks of rehabilitation. So after the international break, and then he probably won't be ready straight away, although he is one of the players that seems to be fit quite quickly after the kind of period of physical rehabilitation. So, we'll see. But early December, it looks like.
Right. So good long way off. So I guess before we finish the show, we should connect with our deeply beloved listeners and take some Twitter questions. Hopefully not about the ownership, because I guess we've probably covered that.
We've kind of covered that one. Lucas_M United, friend of the show, I guess. I guess that's mean. Friend of the show. He asked a lot of questions. If Ollie isn't the answer, who is? Well, I was just looking at the latest odds for next Manchester United manager. Allegri is 5-2 favourite. I mean, I guess people would like that, but it's a very different style of manager again. Pochettino, well, I guess United would be hoping that he's fired or quits before they have to buy him out of that really expensive contract. And how's he feeling at the moment with Tottenham below us in the table?
Doesn't he need a break?
You'd think so. Think so. He's a very intense manager, isn't he?
Yeah.
Ralf Rangnick at Leipzig, 9-2. Laurent Blanc, no thanks.
No merci.
Why is he always up there? It's just lazy betting, that is. Brendan Rodgers, he'd probably do a good job, but honestly, I couldn't take him that seriously.
I mean, I don't know why, because he's like a genuinely excellent football manager.
I know, but he's just a bit of a twat, isn't he? So
I mean, sure, but we've got This Club FC running the show, saying we're going to make it difficult to beat Norwich. I don't know.
Erik ten Hag at Ajax, very good young manager. Excellent Ajax team last year's been broken up a little bit, so challenging for him this season. Michael Carrick, almost certainly never going to happen. Julian Nagelsmann, there's an interesting one with Hoffenheim, very innovative young manager. 20-1 feels like maybe a step too soon. One step and then up, but who knows? And then Gareth Southgate, no thank you, at 20-1, and that's your top 10.
I have to say, I mean, this is partly just ignorance of European football in general. There's not a single name on that list where I'm like, yes, get him, definitely, get him. There's no Jurgen Klopp in 2015 equivalent when, somewhat desperate.
The interesting ones there are Ralf Rangnick and Julian Nagelsmann, both sort of really interesting managers in the Bundesliga.
But Klopp was,
Klopp had taken Borussia Dortmund to a couple of titles and to a Champions League final and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's like he was a very interesting manager from the Bundesliga who was also absolutely crushing it and winning everything, and played like this fantastic style of football. I mean, I know we're not like, I know you don't like it when I say thinks positively about Jurgen Klopp on this, institution which is officially opposed to such a position. But I'm talking about 2015 Jurgen Klopp before he crossed the uncrossable line.
Dan _Dan B21 says, which do you hate most, United or VAR? I mean, yes. Like VAR seems like a really boring topic now, but lots of weird stuff happening in the Premier League this weekend, as it is every weekend, including perhaps a more interesting way of thinking about it, a discussion of potentially introducing a pitchside monitor, which of course the Premier League were dead set against.
There was a weird one. Like I watched a bit of that Spurs Everton game. It was a very weird one that looked like a Dele Alli absolute. I mean, under the handball rules, a handball that wasn't given. I mean, I can see why it wasn't given. The Martial penalty shout against Bournemouth, where his leg was taken out from under him, it looked way more of a penalty than the Daniel James one the week before. So we've got these two incidents that look sort of similar. I mean, it kind of are coming together, but it did look like the defender. There was much more of the defender taking the player out in this one, and it wasn't given. Didn't even look like it was much thought about.
And this is where we come back to what level the bar's set at, because I'm not quite sure. It's supposed to be high, but then it seemed to be readjusted at some point. But
yeah,
maybe it's back to high again.
Have they moved it back up this weekend? I mean, there was some meeting, wasn't there? The Premier League clubs bigwigs all met. Maybe they've said we need to put the bar back up again. I mean, it's a complete shambles at the moment. It really is. And I'm not morally opposed to the idea of some sort of implementation of the use of all these cameras to help referee the game, but it's not working.
No, the implementation's the bad bit, not the general concept.
I mean,
Messi, at Messi, goat Messi. I think...
This doesn't feel like normally our normal demographic of listeners, but welcome aboard, Messi, at Messi, goat Messi.
Yeah, I'm guessing he likes Lionel Messi.
I mean, who doesn't?
Maybe it's Dave Messi who plays in the Panorama. Which team does Andreas play for in 2 years?
Oh dear. I mean, did they like him at Granada? I don't know. That's
not particularly.
Right. Sociedad are doing quite well, aren't they, this season? So, I don't know. I mean, in the old days, it definitely would have been Everton. But now it might be Watford, although they might not be in the Prem. It's a very good question. It's definitely one of the Inter Milan.
Yeah. We're now their feeder club.
Yeah, then the new Everton.
Yeah. I mean, a sail to Spain would probably make sense, I guess, or something like that. Since he's played there for a couple of years.
But it's not going to... It's going to be, Betis or someone whose ambition is to, maybe get the Europa League.
Yeah. Dan O says, Ed steps aside, you're hired as director of football. What's the first thing you do? Spunk £500 million in the transfer market, because that's about what it's going to take to create a good United team, I think.
Yeah, the first thing I'd do is I'd meet the head of scout. I'd do the first thing that I do in Football Manager. I'd meet the head of scouting, and then I'd filter all his results. Creativity 15, passing 15, tackling 15, CM. That's what I want. You don't get as many of them as you used to. It used to be guaranteed win, but they don't come around as often anymore.
Alex Sabino says, how many Leicester players would walk into the Manchester United team? Good question. So, shall we have a look at the top Leicester players? Jamie Vardy, your favourite, Jamie Vardy. Would he get in the United team?
Yeah, Patreon backers will have heard our little debate about Jamie Vardy last week. I'm instantly, obviously, Jamie Vardy would get into the team.
10 and 11 this season. Iose Perez, not sure about him.
He
wasn't that good when he was in Newcastle. Euro Tielemans, yes. I mean, he'd be a very good foil for Scott McTominay. James Maddison, yes. Obviously, Andreas in the bin. Ricardo Pereira, right back, no. Ndidi, yes, as a holding player. I mean, I don't know about in the team. Yeah, no, I mean, I like him a lot. He likes the tackle, does Ndidi.
Yes, indeed.
Ben Chilwell, 100%.
Yeah.
Soyuncu, probably would, actually. I mean, he's been a great replacement for Maguire. I mean, to people at Leicester, and they are already talking in terms of him being better than Maguire. So
I'll tell you who
Harvey
is.
Barnes, very nice young midfielder, but I don't know whether he'd walk. Well, hang on a minute. I mean, how many Leicester midfielders can we get into our team?
You'd be playing him like attacking midfield, right? So he's played off through the centre or off the left, and he wouldn't play through the centre because we'd play Tillemans there. So no, we'd play what's that, Madison there, and I'm keeping Rashford just about in the team.
Yeah.
Oh no, got to
I
play
think-
Martial there because Vardy's playing up front. I'll tell you who you haven't mentioned, who is definitely better than Harry Maguire, and that is Johnny Evans, the Premier League's finest centre back. That's
right.
only just a joke, by the way, me saying that Johnny Evans is the Premier League's finest centre back. Virgil van Dijk is not having a very good season.
Well, true. So there's 5 Leicester players there who I think would definitely walk in. And then there's a question mark around Soyuncu and Barnes. Looking down the list, no, I don't think there's anyone. I mean, Hamza Chowdhury is a very talented young player. I don't think he's necessarily walking into the United
He
team.
doesn't walk into the Leicester team. So we're not having anyone that doesn't get in the Leicester team walking into the United team. We're not quite there yet. Not far off, but not quite there.
How far we done fell.
Yeah.
Pretty desperate times, isn't it? Leicester going 3rd after today's games. Going very well indeed.
Yep.
Adashi says opinions on the season so far. Just listen to our previous 10 podcasts this season.
I think it's been bad. that's my opinion on this season so far. Bad, in my opinion.
I mean, just add a modicum of criticism to your analysis there, Paul. It could have been worse.
Yeah, it's true. We could not be looking like getting through the Europa League group stage and still be in the Carabao. I really liked, talk of review of the season, I really liked Marcus Rashford's free kick a lot. Like, I liked Marcus Rashford's free kick about 3 games of watching United worth. Like, it kind of justifies 270 minutes, that free kick, just about.
I mean, it was 11 out of 10. Absolute barnstormer.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah.
I almost feel like we haven't talked about how amazing it was enough, but there's not much to say other than I watched it once, made a real big noise. Then I kind of thought in the second replay I saw, I thought it might have taken a deflection. And then the third replay, it was very obvious that it had not taken a deflection and he actually made the football move like that. I mean, that was Ronaldo against Portsmouth levels, no question.
Oh, sure. And people have made that a lot of that comparison, yeah. There's only 2 angles it's worth watching that one from. I mean, it's okay from your standard TV angle. I mean, it's very good. Directly behind, where you can see the ball doing all sorts of weirdness. I mean, that's a googly, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's a wrong un, fully a wrong un.
I mean, it goes left, then right, and then hard left again.
Like extremely up and extremely down, which is very pleasing.
And then the sort of fan angle and just the noise the United fans make. And there's one that is like, don't shoot. Oh!
Yeah. And the thing that I love about the kind of collective sound is you can hear that O is the first letter. Because, you know, sometimes a goal is celebrated with a collective, yes! And you can hear the Y, but you could definitely hear the, oh, yes! Like, there's definitely the O is in there first. Beautiful noise.
The wife's taking the kids, says, should Ollie give the receptionist more Norwegian biscuits?
It was chocolate. It was Norwegian chocolate.
Look, why not? Keep the receptionist happy. You might keep your job for another couple of weeks. Adam Arbogast says, should Gomez get a running game since Pereira, Lingard and Fred aren't impressing much? I mean, I kind of feel that actually what should really happen for Gomez's development is he gets a loan. I don't think that every week. We've said it every week, and I think dumping him in this team now and expecting him to suddenly turn it on is just unfair. You know, people will be trashing him very quickly. Of course, like bigger thing to think about with Gomez, his contract runs out in the summer, still not signed up, and this week Tahith Chong's agent said like the terms and the sporting plan aren't right, and he's not signing until both of those 2 things are met. I mean, the terms, like he's going to make loads of money over his career if he's good enough. So I'm sure they'll work that one out. The sporting plan, that's a kind of interesting thing to bring up, isn't it? Because without a sporting director, how do United have a consistent sporting plan? I mean, Nicky Butt's part of the picture here because he's the man. I've forgotten his head of football development. Is it? It's a kind of weird job title. His role is basically helping young players like Chong make their way into the first team, right? So part of the technical director's role is, well, what's your 3 to 5 year plan on transition of the squad and each individual player? And I guess in the terms of, in the scope of Butt's role, it's okay. And what's your development from under 16s to 18s to 23s? And typically they would have a plan. It's this many games at this stage and this many games at this stage, and then we'll look and we'll see where the development is. And sometimes that gets accelerated through happenstance or good performances.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's telling that agents are starting to say. I mean, listen, I am not entirely convinced that Tahiff Chong is of the level required. I mean, he's clearly a talented player, but I think Chong and Gomez, it's almost the kind of the thing that Arsenal fans are getting a lot of with Ozil at the moment, which is whoever's not playing. It's Gareth Barry in the 2010 World Cup. It's, whoever's not playing is kind of elevated by virtue of the fact that the players around them are not doing well. And I think some of the young players are benefiting reputationally from that. Because I think if you put Gomez in the team right now, he would just be set up to fail. That's what I suspect.
Yeah. I suspect he'd look a lot like Andrea, to be honest, and just not really be able to take hold of a game. Nathan McGarren says, "Would you expand Old Trafford or knock it down and start again?" Yeah,
Great question.
It's kind of interesting question because I've been to a lot of grounds around both England and around the world, since I get to travel quite a bit. And what's happened at some of the really elite grounds that are old, like Old Trafford is, and I mean parts of it older than others, obviously, since various hodgepodge of expansions over the years, is that they kind of committed to refurbishment. So at Camp Nou and Bernabeu, Bernabeu spent a lot of money refurbishing, and there's been a plan for some time at Camp Nou to do a full refurbishment. And I have to say, if you go, it's a really bare bones stadium. Like, there's not much there apart from like the seats and the big bowl. There's a roof over a quarter of the stadium. There's nothing really in the way of concessions and places to eat and drink and the stuff you get in all these kind of super modern English stadiums, or even really at Old Trafford. So, and then you look at some of the newer stadiums, especially, I mean, over here, obviously. So if you've been to the Emirates, it's, there's lots of places. I haven't been to the new Tottenham Stadium yet, but they've got a cheese bar. Even Wembley's not great, but it has, more stuff available for fans, and it's kind of more modern feel than Old Trafford. But in the US, they do this really well, I have to say. I mean, so you go to any of the sort of big top NFL stadiums, and they'll be bringing the food trucks. Like, you can get your Korean barbecue tacos there, no problem.
This is disgraceful.
Craft beers.
Disgraceful advocation for gentrification here, Ed. By the way, like,
I know.
The consumer experience? Is that what you think?
It's not really what I mean. It's about the fan experience, isn't it? So like, if you just want a bare bones seat and you want to get in and out and be safe, Old Trafford's fine. There's you can complain about the roof, as we have been doing for the last 20 years or so since they put up the North Stand, and its impact on noise. But like, if it's just a bare bones seat, it's actually better than a lot of stadiums because it's not that cramped.
Yeah, I mean, it's the views, apart from obviously like the third tier and the
the letterbox view you get in the third tier is horrible. But
but everywhere else is
good.
Got like a good view, but I think given the choice between like leveling off each side of it, because they can do it, because it's, as we've talked about before, it's not such a problem that it's near the train tracks as it used to be because of modern engineering and all that. But you level off all the sides, you make all of them the same number of tiers and put a roof all the way around the top of it, and then give it all a big refit and a refurb and update the concourses and all that kind of stuff. And I'd rather they did that than knock it down and build a new stadium around the corner, because it's Old Trafford, isn't it? Like, there's
Right. No, that's right. And that's a few £100 million worth of spend rather than £1 billion. So
Yeah.
it's not going to happen anyway because it's clearly not in the anywhere near the priority of the current owners.
Well, it's likely to be in the priority of whoever owns the club next, whoever that is.
Well, maybe. The funny thing, of course, is that any capital infrastructure spending, any capital spending on infrastructure doesn't count when it comes to financial fair play. You can spend as much as you want. You can paint the place with gold, if you like, and call it capital spend, and it's not going to bother you.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, I suspect if owners are coming in with a PR ambition, we are going to be talking about developing campuses to rival the Etihad campus, etc.
Oh, it'll all be part of the project, won't it?
Yeah. Not at all a depressing project.
Prospect.
Great.
Well, we've been, I don't know how, since we've just seen a big pile of turd in United's current on the field project.
Yeah.
But we've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes now, Paul.
Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? That Rashford goal was good, though, wasn't it? To be fair, it was really good.
What's an unhealthy number of times to watch it? Because I've probably watched it about 100 times this week.
I don't know. I've watched it a lot of times from a lot of angles. I don't know if there's because like essentially watching actual United games is so depressing that isolating one good bit and watching it over and over again is probably more mentally healthy at this point. Anyway, so. Predictions for scores in the Europa League game against Partizan Belgrade and the home league fixture against high-flying Brighton and Hove Albion.
Partizan were terrible, by the way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, properly bad. So I think United will win, and I'm going to say 2-0.
Yeah. That's what I was also just going to say randomly based on almost nothing.
Of course. Yeah.
So we'll both go with 2-0 that one. I can't predict a win. I mean, I'm not saying we're definitely not going to win, but it feels really genuinely ridiculous to say that the most likely score in the next United League game is a United win after that Bournemouth performance. Have we been better at home? Kind of, but not really. Not when teams sit deep. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. We score fairly early. Tail off depressingly, Brighton get one, and we don't even look like winning.
I'm going to say 2-1 somehow United win.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just want to be positive.
Yeah, that's standard procedure. All right, everyone, Patreon backers, stay tuned. We are going to, for bonus content this week, compare Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's start to the other post-Ferguson era managers. So strap yourselves in for that one. Everyone else will be back next week with another one of these. Thanks for listening.
Thanks a lot. See you next week.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.